Throughout history, the divine name has been a source of power, reverence, and contention. Few names have provoked more theological and linguistic debate than Belial, often translated as worthlessness. However, deeper examination suggests the possibility that Belial is a distortion of something far greater, Bel-Haya or Bel-Ehye, the Lord I Am. This hypothesis raises compelling questions about ancient cultural exchanges, theological polemics, and linguistic evolution. This demonological, Christological, and etymological dive is not a video designed for beginners in this research, but I will extend as many footholds as possible for beginners intellectually bold enough to continue. To address these questions, we must scrutinize the philological, theological, and historical evidence with precision. The name Belial is traditionally translated as worthlessness or without value, deriving from two Hebrew roots. First, bli, meaning without or lacking. Second, ya'al, commonly understood as to ascend or to be of value. Together, the term would signify worthless or without ascent. However, there are alternative interpretations. Consider that ya'al may instead derive from the root ya, Yahweh, or haya, meaning to be or to exist. This would shift the reading of Belial to something closer to Bel-Haya, Lord of Being, or even Lord I Am. Phonetically, the transition from haya to ya'al would not be unexpected, given the linguistic elisions and semantic shifts common in ancient languages. The careful evolution of the name of the crucified founder of the Ebionites' fourth philosophy, Yahuda, into Yahweh, into Ix, Iotachi, pronounced Yodakai, and finally into Jesus Christ, is a great example of this fluidity. This theory gains plausibility when we contextualize it within the linguistic practices of the ancient Near East. For example, Akkadian, a lingua franca of the time, utilized the title Bel to denote lordship. Words often shifted phonetically and semantically as they moved between cultures. The Hebrew adoption of Bel in conjunction with divine or pejorative titles illustrates this cultural interplay. The foundational text for understanding I Am is Exodus chapter 3, verse 14, where God reveals himself to Moses as Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh, I am that I am. This declaration, rooted in the verb haya, to be, emphasizes God's self-existence, eternality, and unchanging nature. Now consider the cultural milieu, environmental setting of the Israelites. The title Bel, used widely in Mesopotamia for deities such as Bel-Marduk, signified supreme lordship. If Yahweh was introduced as Ehyeh, could an ancient syncretic or polemical tradition have merged these terms into Bel-Ehyeh? In a side note, Moses, a moon-worshipping follower of the Cloud Rider, was standing atop Mount Horeb, also known as Mount Sinai, in the region of Midian, when Bel-Ehyeh Yahweh revealed himself as I Am in the burning bush. In polytheistic societies, competing claims to divinity often led to the demonization of rival deities. Is it possible, then, that Belial represents a polemical degradation of a title that once paralleled the divine I Am? The evolution of Belial, from deity to demon. The Hebrew Bible frequently demonizes foreign deities, transforming their attributes into symbols of corruption. Consider Belial's other name, Beelzebub, or Lord of the Flies, likely a mocking distortion of Baal-Zebul, Lord of the High Place. Similarly, Belial may reflect a polemical transformation. A being once revered as a lord becomes the epitome of worthlessness. By the Second Temple period, Belial emerges not as a vague term for worthlessness, but as a specific demonic figure. Texts like the Dead Sea Scrolls explicitly name Belial as the leader of darkness, opposing the divine light. Could this demonization obscure an earlier association with divine lordship? If Belial once claimed the title of Bel-Haya, then his identification with worthlessness becomes a theological repudiation of his claim to self-existence and sovereignty. The challenge of Mark 7, verses 1 to 23. Now let us consider Jesus' controversial statement in Mark chapter 7. Nothing outside a person can defile them by going into them. Does this not sound like a modern-day Visor Stab commercial? Same organization, and it never lost control. Critics have questioned the logic and hygiene of this teaching. Would a divine figure dismiss cleanliness, a hallmark of ancient covenantal law? The rejection of hand-washing appears antithetical to divine wisdom, unless viewed through the lens of polemics. Could this teaching address deeper issues of legalism, where ritual purity overshadowed moral purity? Or could it reflect an intentional contrast with the teachings of a rival figure, such as Belial? If Belial was a deity advocating destructive permissiveness, Jesus' statement might be Belial reclaiming the principle of holiness under a false flag, not abdicating it. What hygienic and dietary advice would we expect from a demon in contrast, if putting any kind of pollution in your body and not washing your hands before you eat is the advice of Jesus? Comparative mythology, lordship in ancient cultures. The title Bel, meaning Lord, permeates the ancient Near East, yet its connotations vary. Among the Israelites, Lord, Adonai, is strictly reserved for Yahweh. However, in polytheistic cultures, Bel and its equivalents, like Baal and Marduk, conveyed dominion over specific spheres, storms, fertility, or the underworld. Could Belial, as Bel-Haya, represent an ancient rival to Yahweh, one whose name was recontextualized to signify worthlessness? This would mirror a pattern of theological polemics, where rival deities are diminished and demonized. I would like to pose the idea that the universal church is unconcerned with seeming contradictions of their simultaneous worshiping of demons and angels. Conclusion: unraveling the mystery of Belial. The etymology and theology of Belial challenge us to look beyond surface translations. Whether a linguistic distortion, a cultural polemic, or a theological warning, Belial may embody more than worthlessness. The title, Bel-Haya or Bel-Ehia, Lord I Am, invites deeper reflection on the complex interplay of language, divinity, and identity in the ancient world. The question remains: was Belial a rival lord claiming divine self-existence, later cast into infamy by monotheistic tradition? Or is he merely a symbol of humanity's meat, money, and government mind control-induced estrangement from God? One thing is certain: names are never incidental. Could it be possible that Belial is just one of the many identities willfully adopted by the entity known as Lucifer, the one who bruises the heel and the planter of the vine? In the name of Belial, we glimpse the tension between holiness and defilement, worth and worthlessness, truth and deception. Consider the possibility that the creator of souls on the other side of the veil of Isis has no gender and has no name. Search the book of Corinthians for what the creator of souls, best articulated as love free will, is and is not. Uncover the veil between the creator of souls, aka love, free will, and the engendered, the many-named, the insatiably jealous gods of ritual blood sacrifice. Please like and subscribe to encourage this research, and don't be shy about leaving a comment even if you disagree with how Nick Tzadik pleases me.